Who am I speaking with?
You're speaking with David Kadavy, and I'm the author of the book Design for Hackers, Reverse Engineering Beauty.
And you just gave an awesome presentation really about whitespace, and you really focus mostly on type and why whitespace is so important in type, and whitespace between letters, between lines, between sections, all that stuff. Why is that important, and what are people missing?
Yeah, I did focus on type quite a bit. And I like to think about type a lot because that is really what design is. You're usually designing information and trying to communicate, and there's so many little subtle things going on there that can make such a big difference in what you're communicating. So that's where I like to start with that, because I think that it's an overlooked detail, sort of those little bits of white space.
So let's break it down. So like a good example you were showing was the blog post. You said you just threw up all the content for a blog post, and then about moving it around, shifting into spaces, and what is a right and a wrong space? I mean, if I don't know anything, where do I begin?
Where you need to begin, I think, it really is just at least first considering the white space. I think a lot of times people ignore white space, and they don't think so much about what they're doing, and they start to worry about other things that are kind of inconsequential. There are thousands of fonts available, and so they get confused about that. They get confused about colors. They start to try to use rules and other things to try to make their design better, when really if they just try to make things line up in a certain way and have geometric relationships with each other, such as if there's a line of type and another line of type, that white space in between those two maybe is the same, or is half or 0.75 the height of that type. Just having some sort of consistency and thinking about that at all is a good start.
So, but what does that mean to the user? Like, I liked how you showed like certain blocks of text, some was gray and some was dark. I mean, what does that mean to the reader?
Yeah, so if you're using type that is darker than another piece of type, or is a darker color, or if you are using different amounts of white space between lines of type, or leading as it's called, then that can create changes in the visual weight of things, so that if you were to squint, one thing might be darker than another. And obviously things...
So why is that important, that one thing might be darker than another?
Right, that's important because obviously if one thing is dark and another thing is light, then they're going to have, if they're on a white background, the thing that's dark is going to attract a little bit more attention than the thing that is light. And when you're trying to communicate clearly with design, it's all about what's the first thing I should be looking at? What's the next thing I should be looking at? How does this piece of information differentiate or differ from this other piece of information? And being aware of that lightness and that visual weight is what can really help you communicate a lot more efficiently.